Well, there's a rumor that's been tossed around about Brie Larson and Captain Marvel, and that she'll be replaced some way or somehow with another actress. This has been tossed around by Doomcock, Overlord DVD, Hail Doomcock, and to some extent Grace Randolph. And just I think that the split in this is that Doomcock's talking about that she could possibly be replaced. And we got a lot of multiversal stuff happening with both superhero franchises. Of course, DC, which is territory they should have mapped out and staked a claim to a long time ago, because DC Comics really introduced that with just explaining the differences between their Golden Age and Silver Age characters and all that. With the Flash 2 worlds and stuff like that. But multiverse is something that's appeared in both superhero universes over the decades. And so now they're going to deal with this primarily, it looks like, through Doctor Strange. And there's all this talk of characters showing up, and possibly, what's the actress? Emily Blunt, I believe, who was supposed to be Black Widow, couldn't for whatever reason, and Scarlett Johansson took the role, and that now she's coming in. A lot of people wanted her to be Sue Storm, but it might be this, that she's going to be the alternate universe. Can't get talk. Been suffering a sore throat this week. Version of her, so that she the role that could have been, which is why some people thought maybe even Tom Cruise would make an appearance as Iron Man, because he was in serious talks to play Iron Man way back when. All that type of stuff they could do, which sounds more like a gag than anything else. But it's possible that, yes, you could utilize this and time warps and whatever else, all the different godlike powers that exist within Marvel Comics could make room for a reboot and revamp of, so you could have Tony Stark and Steve Rogers come back, except it would just be new actors, which would be some tough shoes to fill, especially with Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. But as for a franchise to survive and go forward, it's certainly a solution for that. So Brie Larson just isn't liked. Nobody likes her. There was rumors, and that's where Grace Randolph comes in. Directors couldn't deal with her, stuff like that. The cast seemed to not like her, and you just get that attitude from her. She really torpedoed her image with her, bigoted and misandrous comments, trying to give some defense to A Wrinkle in Time, which doesn't defend the film. If you thought the film was great, you should have presented a defense for it. Instead, you went on this, misandrous rant, and racist and misandrous rant. That's not defending the film. That's just attacking people based on nothing but skin and genitals for whatever view they may have held about how good or bad the film was. You see that a lot these days. Very little defense of films, just a lot of attack on people who criticize it on what the film presented. Last Jedi comes to mind. But anyway, that really turned a lot of people off, and that's all on Brie Larson. And it was very foolish and stupid of her to do that. But she's in the bubble community and doesn't understand that. So so going forward, what are they going to do? And apparently Feige still wants his all-female Avengers. Because that all-male Avengers we had. Oh, wait, we didn't. Yeah, Scarlett Johansson is very much not a man. I mean, she was going to try to play a trans man in that movie before they took it away from her, which is kind of odd considering Elliot Page and still playing a woman. Yeah, but that's another story. Anyway, so Brie Larson. So she tried to make herself likable and stuff. Yeah, I appreciate that, Brie. I know you spent a lot of money on that, but yeah, you're still not very likable. And she tried to do a YouTube channel, and that didn't do very well at all. So Disney's got to look at the bottom line here and figure that out. Meanwhile, the stuff that isn't her fault is just the Captain Marvel movie just wasn't that great. It started off kind of interesting, actually, and then it just sort of fizzled. The directors involved, yes, it was a co-directing venture, are not asked back to do the sequel. So that'll be different. There's been rumors that they're going to have Spider-Man crossover into it to try to bolster it, because there's not a lot of interest in Captain Marvel. Had she not been sandwiched between Infinity War and Endgame, there's no way in hell she would have achieved that $1 billion on paper achievement. So there's all kinds of reasons for her to go. And what do you do? Well, there's candidates they talk about here. Whoops, stepped in it for her replacement. And some of this are two of the women who probably should be considered for quite a few roles. Now, with Gina Carano performing Cara Dune in The Mandalorian, kind of just want to see her stay there in that. The only other character I would like to see her do is possibly She-Hulk, in the old Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno way, with some amount of CGI, I suppose, to make it look more fantastic and everything. But on the whole, if you could match her up with an actress who's much smaller and thinner, doesn't have the muscle might that Gina does, I think Gina could pull that role off. And without having the current version of She-Hulk, they just have her basically the Hulk with a wig, and it's ridiculous. The whole thing about She-Hulk is not the same story as Bruce Banner. Her story was that she kind of came out of her shell and she got to be this, super tall, sexy, supermodel looking woman who just happened to be green and super strong and stuff like that. And she enjoyed being She-Hulk. And it's almost like She-Hulk became her true identity, and Jennifer Walters kind of, faded. And that is all kind of interesting ideas there. You'd have to team her up with someone, and they have to work together well to make that character be two sides of one person. And that could be an interesting exploration. I don't think we're going to get any of that. I think it's just going to be a bunch of male-bashing crap based on a certain writer who is working on that show. So probably rather see her do her sort of female Matt Dillon in space Cara Dune series, where she's a marshal on a planet in the Star Wars world, and see how that turns out. Meanwhile, Katie Sackhoff, who should have been Carol Danvers from the get-go. People complaining she's too old for the role now. Well, de-aging stuff could have been done for the earlier stories about Carol Danvers, and then by the time she joins the whole story within Infinity War or Endgame, would have worked out as the age she is now. And she's just such a better actress at these roles. She's not all that great in The Flash, the villain character she's played there, and I think she's just doing that for fun. But everything else I've seen her in, I know she's got what it takes, and with the right team with her and scripts deserving of her caliber, you could pull something off really good. But ultimately, I think what they'll do is just replace her with Monica Rambeau, and there you go. So Monica Rambeau will be introduced in WandaVision, and who knows, it's a separate story for her version of Captain Marvel, for the Monica Rambeau version, and Visa Teyona Paris will be playing the character. So she might just be the new Captain Marvel, and they'll just put her in their A-Force, all-female Avengers team thing, if they want to keep doing that, which I would recommend they don't. But we'll see how Teyona Paris does in WandaVision, and maybe she could get her Captain Marvel story. And because they just all of a sudden they noticed that Brie's white, because the actual first female Captain Marvel was a black woman in the 80s, and of course the people behind the MCU just didn't know that. I don't think they're racist or anything like that. They just didn't know it, and they slapped Captain Marvel in there very quickly, trying to catch up with Wonder Woman and all of that. And that's not an organic means by which you develop character and story. The actual do justice to Carol Danvers should have been weaved through either the Avengers or keeping her kind of a space-based character. She could have been weaved in through Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that. Little snippets here, and it grows over time, like Black Panther was done. And then so you're used to her being there. You've got some aspects of her, and then she comes into her own in the Avengers, either Infinity War or Endgame, and that would have worked better instead of just this ridiculous shoehorn that happened. And again, that approach to it has nothing to do with Brie Larson. But Brie Larson is just very unlikable, and she was put into a shoehorned character that it wasn't going to work. And so they got to look for ways to fix that. And I'm thinking Monica Rambeau may be the way they go with it. It's unfortunate that Katie didn't get a shot at this, but I think that's probably will be the most likely outcome for Captain Marvel. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.